That was absolutely beautiful. It was like some sort of episode of This Is Your Life, where they filmed the Shire in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. It used to be a working farm, and actually interviewed the farmer who owned it. The best show I ever did was the weeknight radio show, and that was live every night. I was just lucky that I knew, and I think I knew that was the direction I wanted to go in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 321 of Meet the Farmers. I'm your host, Ben Eagle. Today on the show, we're heading to the Cotswolds. We've had a few in the Cotswolds recently, but some really interesting people there. I am joined by Sam Walton, who is the Livestock Manager at Cotswold Farm Park, which was incidentally recently named Large Diversification of the Year at the British Farming Awards. Congrats to everyone at Cotswold Farm Park. Sam has a wide-ranging experience with different stock, starting as an assistant dairy herd manager at Reesheath College, where he worked from 2010 to 2015. He was actually a student there a little bit earlier on. He's also worked on a farm in Derbyshire and various other places. More recently, he was head stockman at Dalesford Organic before taking on his current role at Cotswold Farm Park. Sam has been part of a number of programs through his career. In 2018, he was awarded a John Platt Travel Scholarship from the Cheshire Agricultural Society and Reesheath College, which gave him the opportunity to head out to New Zealand to study farm diversification and tourism. So we'll chat about that today. In 2020, COVID year, he was accepted onto the Tesco Future Farmer Foundation. And in 2021, and this is really interesting, he was working in Derbyshire then, and he won the Prince's Countryside Fund's scheme Up to Speed. I don't know whether anyone has heard of that, but Sam won a brand new New Holland tractor for 12 months. So we'll definitely chat about that. He's also no stranger to the microphone, having presented a variety of radio shows since 2010. So today we're going to talk about his life, his work, farming, and the radio. Sam Walton, welcome to Meet the Farmers.
That was absolutely beautiful. It was like some sort of episode of This Is Your Life.
I used to absolutely love This Is Your Life when I was growing up. It's one of those shows, isn't it? Which sort of maybe sometimes comes back to haunt you. But
absolutely,
yeah.
as long as you've not got like my old maths teacher hiding away and the voice just comes in, like I remember giving you good attention in year 6. Anyway, that was lovely. Thank you. Yeah, lots of stuff to talk about and what I've done and where I've been and. It's been one heck of a ride so far, let me tell you.
It sounds, just from the bit of research I've done. Let's start with your early life.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up, and what was your childhood? Because I'm always interested in people who've sort of forged a farming career, moving around different places. Where did you start?
Yeah, so my childhood absolutely grounded me into who I am today, and I'm forever grateful and look back on some really happy memories. I grew up in Cheshire, that's where I'm from, on the estate called the Arley Estate, which, funnily enough, is actually the estate that was used in Peaky Blinders. And
Really?
Tommy Shelby's house, the big mansion, was the stately home on the estate that I was brought up on. And
Oh, wow.
we had a family farm called Stockley Farm. And yeah, just the best place. It was a farm attraction open to the public. My granddad opened it in 1987. And it was the first of its kind. They put a brand new milking parlour in. They brought visitors from Arley Hall to come and look at the milking parlour. My gran started making teas and coffees, and they started doing pedal tractors. Then it was lamb feeding, and it just completely snowballed. And unfortunately, it's actually closed now. But in its heyday, it was bringing in sort of 90,000 visitors from all over the northwest of England. And I
Wow.
grew up in the middle of that. Our farmhouse was in the middle of the yard. So from a very early age, I was sort of open to seeing members of the public. as soon as I was able to put on a pair of wellies, I'd be talking about the cows and the sheep and going on tractor and trailer rides with my granddad. And it was amazing and the best childhood you could ever imagine. Everybody always wanted to come and play at my house because, there was always the playground and the soft play. So yeah, it was brilliant, and it definitely set me up into who I am today. And I will
Yeah.
forever look back on those happy times.
Yeah, I love how actually that certainly that stuff with the public has come full circle
Yeah.
with your current role.
Absolutely. I've always been lucky that I've always known what I want to do. I've never been one of those people that, has been at a crossroads, like, where am I going? What should I do? I've always had a very clear idea from a young age that I want to work in farming. I want to work with people. And, it is quite niche. There's not that many of those roles around. But the role that I'm in now is just me. And we'll talk about it more later. But I feel passionately that I want to tell people about what we do as farmers, shout about not just British produce, but also what goes on day to day. And again, from a very early age, I've been able to do that, and long may that continue.
Yeah, so I'm reading for this. So very much, I'm guessing as a teenager, this is you sort of saw your future taking this route.
Absolutely. So when I was at high school, I knew that I wanted to go to Reese College. I knew the course that I wanted to do, and I wasn't I wasn't thick at school, but I was definitely wasn't the cleverest. And I knew that to get onto the course I wanted to do, I had to get 5 C's and above. So I really grafted on that. And yeah, I remember talking about obviously being a teenager at Stockley Farm. Um, we had the after prom party at the farm. So we had our year 11 prom
Okay.
that everyone went to. And the after party, like the American Pie style after party, was at our farm. And it was just the best night ever. And you can imagine sort of how many, must have been 200 people, all prom suits and girls in all the ball dresses. And they're all, partying in the straw and in the playground and with the animals. It was just amazing. So yeah, definitely teenage life was good fun. But I knew I wanted to go to college and do the NDA, which I did. And that was yeah. How long ago was that now?
2005, so
15 years
nearly
ago.
20
More than, yeah,
years.
I can't do the maths. It's a long time
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. And I think I'm right. It's like, you said before we started recording that course doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't know. There's a different name for it now. Working at Rees Heath, and you talk about back in the day, there was the NCA or the NDA or the HND. None of those exist anymore. It's all very there's new names for them. Obviously, there's new different sort of qualifications that you can do that the government have brought in. But I think there's still a sort of 3-year course you can do with a placement year in the middle. That's what I did.
Okay.
I think it's a level 3 extended diploma now rather than just your NDA. But no, I was very proud to do that course, and it was a brilliant experience being a student.
Yeah. Where did you do your placement?
I did my placement. I actually went to work on a neighbouring farm who were putting in a rotary milking parlour at the time. So not
Okay.
only did I go and sort of experience the animal husbandry side of it and the tractor work as well, but I was also quite involved in helping install a brand new milking parlour. So the sort of I was really interested in that actually. It's something I never thought I'd get into, but yeah, I think having the cows in the parlour for the first time was during my placement year, and that was exciting. We had to train the cows to go around this rotary parlour. But yeah, no, it was really good, and I do maintain to this day that my middle year placement was the year that was the year at college that I definitely learnt the most. And I would always be a massive advocate for any student looking to go to college that if there's a middle year placement, do it, because that is a year where you really do learn about farming.
Yeah, and clearly it sets you up for your future role then at Reese Heath, where
Yeah.
you started a career in dairy at that stage.
I did. So I was in my third year at college, and there was a chance to do some sort of part-time milking and get involved a little bit, which I'm not going to lie, helped with beer money and got
Of
me
course,
through my third year.
it's
So I worked
important.
part-time during my final year as a student for Reese Heath, and then I just had the best time ever. And back then it was when Genus ABS had their own herd of cattle called the Mowat herd, and I
Okay.
worked for them. And then fast forward, I think it was 4 or 5 years later, Reseed College actually bought the Mowat herd off Genus. and establish their own dairy team. And I was approached to come back and work on that team, which was just amazing. And I loved it from, starting there, working with the students to, that sort of teaching element. And I did quite a bit of teaching as well, and the practicals and that side. And again, coming back to the people, and talking and educating is what I'm about. So I really enjoyed that. I'd had to do a lot of growing up, and I was only sort of 20 when I went in there, so there wasn't a
Yeah.
massive age difference between myself and the students. But I had some happy years there, and it was good fun.
I'm just interested as a stockman. So obviously you work across lots of different animals now, but then you chose to specialize. What do you have any advice for ag students who? What's the sort of benefit of? Would you say of actually sort of deciding quite early on or midway through your course that, you know what, I'm really going to specialize in this area, or is it better to be generalist? Or I'm guessing it sort of depends.
That's a great question. I think really I always knew that it was livestock, and that was the area I wanted to go down. I was actually just having this conversation with Adam Henson, because I've never really been into the arable side of things. I mean, I'm interested in it, and obviously it's relevant, and that
Yeah,
goes into it. But if you ever ask me to go and calibrate a seed drill, or go and do some sort of grain analysis, I don't think I'd be your man for that. So
yeah,
I think going back to your question, you'll feel it in yourself. Obviously, what is your area that you're interested in? If it's all aspects of it, then by all means go into it and have an all round view and be what you call in cricket terms an all rounder. But for me, it was livestock, particularly cattle. Yeah, I love all forms of livestock, but my big sort of specialism is cattle. And yeah, I think I was just lucky that I knew, and I think I knew that was the direction I wanted to go in.
yeah. And give us an idea how your career developed after Reese Heath.
Oh, it's like a roller coaster.
You have
So
been to quite a few places.
Oh man, yeah, and I know I'm settled now and I'm where I want to be, but um, yeah. So I left Reese Heath. I went to work on another open farm in Cheshire that was similar to Stockley, but obviously not as big, and got involved there a little bit. Went self-employed for a little bit, doing a bit of sort of relief milking and contracting, and I never really sort of nailed my sail to the mast. I was big in Cheshire Young Farmers, was really committed to that, and didn't want to move out of Cheshire.
Yeah.
So yeah, moved around a little bit, really doing different jobs. But yeah, I worked at Tatton Park on the farm there, as the sort of member of staff that looked after the cattle that were there. We won numerous awards with the cattle, and it was a lovely, lovely place to work. And it was great. We had a really sort of small team. I actually, interestingly enough, talking about middle year placements, my boss at the time at Tatton Park was actually an amazing lady called Jane Chapman, and she was a student who worked for my granddad for her middle year.
Oh,
So when
really?
she was at Reese's back in the early 80s, so actually it did really go full circle in the fact that I was working for her and she'd worked for my granddad. And yeah, no, I loved Tatton Park. It was great. It was very public facing, and probably not a huge amount of sort of commercial farming going on, but again, very, very sort of, delivering the talks and the demonstrations. And I loved it. I came to a point where I could have stayed at Tatton for a long, long time, or I wanted to progress in my career. And at that point, I had got Hereford cattle. I'd always big lover of Hereford cattle, and there was a job that came up on a farm that I knew through the Hereford Society. It was actually a farm I'd bought some Hereford cattle from. I knew the family really well, and they were looking for a farm manager, and went to see them. And yeah, I always felt at some point I would go and work up in the hills. My family on my mum's side are all from that part of the country, and I loved going up there. So when that job came up and I was offered it, it meant relocating from Cheshire to Derbyshire, which was great. And we were there. We had some really happy times. I loved the role, but I'd always got this sort of itch, the itch that needed scratching. And
Okay.
whilst I was there, the herd manager job came up at Reese Heath, and felt, do you know, I'm going to go and have a crack at that again. So went back to
Mm.
Reese Heath as herd manager, had another stab at that. That was great. And then we moved down to the Cotswolds, to Dalesford. And again, prestigious place, really really forward thinking. Working for the Bamford family and JCB, which was a huge experience, and loved that. And then the role at where I am now. So there was a phone call from the CEO of the Cotswold Farm Park, and she wanted to speak to me, and that was it. And here we are. So yeah, I'll take a breath now. It's not been plain sailing, left college and did one job. I've been about. I've had two kids. I got married.
Yeah.
Did a lot of growing up. So yeah, it's all been good fun.
Yeah, it's honestly it's quite a CV and quite some
Yeah,
amazing places that you have been to.
yeah, yeah.
But let's bring us up to date with the farm park. Yeah, how long have you been in the role now?
It's just under 6 months I've been here, and yeah, I absolutely love it. I look forward to going to work in the morning. Every day is different. It is arguably one of the biggest farm parks in the UK. We have
Yep.
huge amounts of visitors that come in, and I'm just so proud to be part of that team and the ideas that we've got and where we're going with it. It's very exciting. So yeah, I'm absolutely blessed beyond belief to be here.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned in the intro, you recently won Large Diversification of the Year as a team. I mean, you've been there 6 months, so I'm guessing you've got sort of a grapple on the team and everything on there. What in your view do you think makes it so successful? Because obviously it's very well known, and obviously there's the Adam Henson link,
You?
which who's that? Who's that? But it's clearly a really successful operation, as in its own right, really, as a venture. So, why do you think it's so successful?
Great question. I think really it's incredibly forward thinking, and there has never been a point where they've got to the level they want to be, and oh, we're here now. Let's stay at this. They're always investing. They're always improving. They want to bring in new ideas. They want to bring in new events. They want to bring in more people. And I think that's what I found most exciting about originally coming for the initial chat with Adam, is the fact that they want to be the best. They want to, bring people from all over the UK. They really sort of valued my experience that I'd got with the sort of diversification and where I'd worked as well. And I sort of really um, felt that sort of embrace of they wanted me to be part of the team. And I think really it is successful. There will be a certain element of that Adam is the spearhead of the whole thing. But
Yeah,
I think there's just a good team. And that's again, they really look after their staff and they really sort of invest in their staff as well. That I remember from the first day saying that no idea is a bad idea. And they encourage everybody to get involved with that. So I think, yes, the animals are incredibly well looked after. I think that they it's a really special place, and again, I'm not coming on here to sort of try and sell tickets, but for anybody that hasn't been yet, I would really recommend coming. This beautiful setting that it's in the Cotswolds. It's really well done. So yeah, it's a big fan of it before I even came to work here.
yeah. I was going to say if my diary wasn't so full at the moment, I definitely would have been down there, and we'd be doing this face to face. And yeah, it's a great place. Um, just on that sort of education element, and I'm interested because you've obviously worked in education establishments, you've worked in commercial, and you've worked in sort of well your current role, for example. So that balance between public engagement, commercial farming, education, do you think that there is a balance to be had, and is it possible to do all three at the same time, or in your experience, having worked across sort of different areas, is a farm better off to sort of focus on one of those?
I think you've got to strip it right back. And this is one of my huge sort of soapbox issues, is the fact that, as farmers, we produce what we do and we sell to the consumer and whatever, supermarkets or whatever, however we do it. People need to know where their food comes from. And it's as simple as that. Now, not everybody be interested in it. Some people just want to go to the supermarket and buy their food and not even think about how it's been produced. But actually, from my trip to New Zealand when I went out there, the whole philosophy over there is completely different to the UK, and people do know that farmers produce their food. And I think there's been a massive it's been disjointed, and that's what we need to get back together. It's easy to say, we do need to teach kids about farming. We do need to teach food and farming production in schools, but it goes beyond that. We need to teach adults where their food comes from, and I think for me, and you can't really blame them because nobody's ever taught them. And fair play to Mr. Clarkson down the road that's done it,
Yep.
and he's got the TV show up there and people watch it, and it's been hugely successful. And you have to ask yourself the question, why has it been hugely successful? Because people don't know about this sort of thing and they find it
Mm.
interesting, and they don't know about how, yeah, um, beef is produced, how combines work, how you have to, all these rules and regs and all these different assurance schemes you have to be part of. And that shows to me people do want to know about it. And actually, as farmers, we need to tell them. And I feel actually we have a responsibility to tell them as well. It's not for everybody. Not everyone's going to jump on social media and say, look, here's my milking parlour or here's my tractor. But I just think that as an industry, we've had a really tough 12 months for many different reasons. But let's keep banging that drum. And you
Mm.
don't have to let people onto your farm for a day out. You could just sell eggs from the end of the drive or whatever. But we need to, as an industry, bang home about what we do as farmers and tell people the truth and actually the reality of it. And again, that's why I think Clarkson's Farm's been so popular in the way that it has.
Yeah, I think this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, if everyone can do something, obviously not everyone is Jeremy Clarkson and you can't have a huge TV show, but you can write for your parish magazine. You can, like you say, have some eggs at the bottom of the drive and get conversations started with people locally. You can build a good reputation locally, apart from anything else, that helps as well. Sort of help out with local events, that kind of thing. Build connections with your local community as well.
Absolutely. And I think, I did a little bit of that with my up to speed tractor that we'll talk about in a bit. There was loads of cars stuck in the snow and up in Derbyshire, and I was there pulling the cars out of the snow. And, I don't think any farmers ever sort of recoiled from wanting to tell people how they farm. I think that everybody, wants to promote their business.
Yeah,
And how you
farmers
go
love
about
talking
that.
about farming.
Exactly. And farmers, I think they're happy to share what they do, and they're happy and they're proud of what they do. Bottom line. So it's about just keep banging that drum. And it's not easy, and I know it's hard, and I know that we've had a really tough 12 months, but I think we've just got to just tell people what we do because I think they want to know.
Hmm. You mentioned your New Zealand trip a minute ago. So this was back in 2018. It's a John Platt Travel Scholarship. Um, Firstly, I mean, tell me a little bit more about the John Platt Travel Scholarship because I haven't come across that before. And is it still going? But also tell me about what you discovered about diversification and agritourism. This is a
Yeah.
huge
So
subject.
it's something they still run it. It's between the Cheshire Agricultural Society and Reseed College. Unfortunately, it is only open to young people in Cheshire.
Pretty
So if you're not
specific.
watching in Cheshire, gutted. But it's amazing. It's something that I really wanted to do for a long, long time. And people kept saying to me, "Are you going to do scholarship? Are you going to do scholarship?" But I never really knew what it was that I wanted to study. Um, and you only get one chance at using it, so I wanted to make sure it was the right thing. And actually, um, agritourism in New Zealand was something that I really wanted to look at. I did a bit of research, and there was, I wanted to look at open farms out there and how, going back to our earlier comment, how were farmers linking up with the public in New Zealand. And it was fascinating and learned so much through all that. In fact, like I said before, the philosophy that in New Zealand people associate farms with where their food comes from. That's it. And actually there's a massive respect there for their farmers and what they do. And yeah, I loved it. I went out and visited I think it was about 8 huge diversification projects, one
Wow.
in Rotorua that will always stay with me now. I remember getting really emotional when I saw it. It's a place called the Agrodome, and they again had this huge arena where they did these farming displays, and there was they
Wow.
called it the farm show. But on there was sheep shearing, there was dog and duck demos, it was very sheep led because obviously that's where we were, but there was a bit of again a milking demo, And it was fantastic. And I'm not joking now. There must have been 1,000 people, over 1,000 people in this arena watching this stage show. And it just gave me such inspiration that actually, this is what we need to do. And people need to come and watch this sort of stuff. It wasn't, I mean, yeah, it was a bit of a um, theme show and, they sort of zhuzhed it up a little bit, but actually the people were just transfixed on it. So yeah, the Agrodome at Rotorua will just stay with me for a long time. And what was really interesting is the numbers of people they were having. They were having like 10,000 people a day. That's incredible. And that was it was the average. Some days they'd have more. And it wasn't a huge farm site, but what they'd done is there was people coming in and they had the absolute army of tractors and trailers, like people carriers, that would take people out into the countryside, into the land that they had. And it was just done really, really well. And I, came back just absolutely hungry to get stuck into having something similar in this country. Not saying that's going to happen at the Cotswold Farm Park, but it just filled me with inspiration and loved it. I went to a place called Sheep World, which is a little bit smaller.
Sheep World.
It was great. I've still got the singlet vest that says Sheep World on it. And again, it wasn't as big as the Agrodome, but it was still, farmers having a go at trying to get people on side. The majority of people that were visiting these attractions were holiday makers because the native New Zealand people, it's like I was going to Sainsbury's or Tesco's for a day out. You're not going to go and they associate farming with food. That's it.
Yeah.
Went to a lavender farm. There was a farmer selling lavender, making lots and lots of money through selling lavender. Went to a real sort of petting farm, which isn't really me. And that is my big bugbear when people refer to sort of farm parks and farm attractions as petting farms. I can't be doing with that, but this one I went to was very rabbits and guinea pigs and that side of things. And there wasn't a whole lot of sort of farm education there. So, I visited quite a few places, went to the Lord of the Rings set, which in Hobbiton, it was a farm. And it's an amazing story in the fact that where they filmed the Shire in Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, it used to be a working farm. And I actually interviewed the farmer who owned it. And he said to me he was watching the rugby one Sunday afternoon. And thankfully, he got a knock on the door, and thankfully it was half time when this knock on the door came, and he went to the door, and it was Peter Jackson, who's the obviously director of Lord of the Rings, and they said that could they have a chat about doing some shooting for this project they got going on, and he said in this interview, he said if it hadn't been half time in the rugby, I wouldn't have opened the door and would never have happened.
Oh, this is such a great story.
Outside Matamata, the amazing farm. So I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan and The Hobbit, and to go to that because it was a farm as well, it was just really, really interesting. So again, not every farmer gets approached to have a Hollywood movie made on their land, but still, it was a diversification. It was an alternative form of income, and yeah, I loved it. So New Zealand to me will always hold a very special place in my heart, and I will definitely go back one day and get out there and see it all again. But yeah, special place.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually, isn't it? And it's looking at agritourism and diversification in a different way, isn't it? Because I mean, a shout out to all the incredible diversifications we've got in the UK. Shout out for the county shows and all the volunteers that do amazing work for those wherever you are every year. But perhaps, yeah, there is space to think a little bit outside the box as well.
There is, and there's no rule on it. There's no sort of you can do whatever you want, whether it's a wedding venue or whether you want to birthday parties or a wellness teepee on your field, whatever. There is a real sort of energy towards these sorts of things happening in the Cotswolds. I know we're a really affluent area and there's a lot of tourism and that sort of stuff, but I just think that the possibilities are endless to getting people onto farms, and I would really encourage for any farmers watching this that it doesn't have to be a big thing. You could just store some caravans in your cowshed, whatever you want to do. But just, look at those options because they're out there and they can be a real sort of significant income stream that perhaps you've not got at the minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, just going back a little bit, listeners, with the John Platt Travel Scholarship, in case you don't know, because I mean, people aren't often aware, there are lots of these funds actually mostly on a county level, all over the country. So definitely dig in if you're interested in travel, or if there's education grants. Here in the east of England, for example, we've got the Chadacre Agricultural Trust, who are Suffolk based, but they have funding for young people in adjoining counties as well. The ag societies often have funding potential and opportunities as well. So give it a Google, give it a search, and if you're interested in opportunities, do look wider. Would you, Sam? Would you have any sort of any other advice or points on that?
I think for me, the next big one I really want to get stuck into is a Nuffield scholarship. And
Yeah.
for a long time, it's something I've wanted to do. And again, I'm in that sort of limbo at the minute that I'm only going to get one chance to do it. So I want to make sure it's a real chunky, meaty subject that I want to find out more about. So I'm thinking at the minute it's going to be sort of mental health based,
Okay.
and mental health and farming. That's where I'm leaning more towards at the minute, because that subject just absolutely fascinates me. And how we have an industry that has such issues with mental health. It doesn't surprise me, but we need to do more about it. We need to really look at this and look at how other people, other countries perhaps deal with mental health, how they support their farmers and support each other. So, yeah, at the minute, I've not put my application in, but a Nuffield scholarship would be something I want to do, looking at mental health in farming.
Okay. Well, best of luck through the
Thank you.
application process. And you're committed now. Now you've said it on the show,
I
so
know, I've got to do it now.
you got to at least apply.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I know we're jumping about, but take us back to Derbyshire, when you did this up to speed scheme and you got this tractor. Tell us this story.
Yeah, so the Prince's Countryside Fund ran a competition with New Holland for three lucky people to win some of their brand new machinery. And they had the T6 tractor, a telescopic handler, and then one of their sort of orchard based tractors. And
Okay.
they'd run the scheme for a few years, and you had to basically apply and say how it would benefit you having your own machine and how it would benefit you in your farm and your operation. So I had to go into quite a sort of detailed plan of it. Now, we had some land that I was renting, and we got the Hereford cattle, and we made our own silage and haylage for those. And um, there was loads of opportunities for using this tractor. So I applied. I think they loved the radio side of things as well. And the
Okay.
media, they quite like that. And I had to go through an interview process where there was a Zoom call done with some of the board of the Prince's Countryside Fund. I was told that His Majesty the King, obviously Prince Charles at the time, did actually watch the interview videos, so he did have a say on who won the kit. So yeah, I won a tractor, brand new. And I had this tractor, and it was great. But the issue was I didn't have anything to go on the back of it. So I got back to the farm,
No implements.
and I'd got a little hay bob, I'd got a little trailer, and it was just massive, massive overkill. I mean, if you've seen a 180 horse tractor towing an old hay bob round, it was the funniest thing. But it's all I had, and I made it work. And during that time, we moved to Derbyshire. I took the tractor with me, and it was great. It was good fun. We had the tractor involved in all sorts of like school fetes and stuff, and kids got to
Okay.
sit in it and all that, because New Holland were really keen for that to happen. And then we had this almighty snowstorm. I remember we were up there, and obviously in the peaks, when it snows, it proper snows.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember I had the tractor, and I spent nights just pulling people out of the snow. And not they weren't completely buried, but they'd driven up to Hartington where we were, and they just got stuck. So literally, I'd be
Mm.
there just towing cars out of the snow and towing them back up to the A road that had been gritted, so they could get home. So that was good fun, and I'd like to think I did my bit for the community during that time. But yeah, my tractor was great. I was absolutely gutted when it went, and it was a really sad day. So I got the
Oh,
12 months, and yeah, it was really sad when it went. I wonder where she is now. Actually,
I was
I
I
always
was
think,
going to ask. Do you know
yeah,
where it's gone now?
I don't. I've got the reg plate somewhere for it, but it was a T6 180. So 180 horse T6 tractor. It was massive, and I mean, there was T6 tractors and there was T6 tractors, and mine was
Yeah.
absolutely huge. And yeah, no, it was great, but it was
Oh.
very, very lucky. And yeah, I'll always look back on that and laugh at that. How we managed to get that tractor. It couldn't fit in some of the sheds. It was that big. Like it was.
I wonder if we could use the listener network to try and track it down.
Oh, love that.
Listeners,
Where?
if any listeners know anyone who may have this tractor,
Yeah,
please let me know. That would be really, really interesting.
yeah.
Um, where should we go next? Yeah, so I mean, because you've done a few of these things. You've also been part of the Tesco Future Farmer Foundation, for example.
Mm.
So, I mean, with all these things, how important do you think these sorts of initiatives are for young or progressing farmers to have these opportunities?
I think networking is fantastic, and any opportunity you get to network with farmers, with people from the supply chain, from visitors on your farm, networking is key. And I think the Tesco Future Farmer Foundation was great, and a lot of people had sort of contacted me that had done it and said, you really enjoy this and get a lot from it. And I did. Unfortunately, it was COVID year, and we started the course. We met up as a group of 50 of us, and we sort of have a 2 or 3 days in a sort of conference suite, and we had talks with bank managers and various sort of people that came in throughout the industry. Um, and yeah, COVID sort of hit and put a stop to it all. We were meant to have lots of sort of visits to supply chains. I went to Muller. I remember doing a really good visit to Muller. There was Cranswick as well, like looking at sort of the pork side of things. So it was great, and I really enjoyed the time I had involved with that. But COVID sort of put a stop to it quite quickly,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I made some incredible friends through it all, as you do, from all over the UK, and still speak to a lot of them now as well. So yeah, really, really good good initiative to get involved with. I know McDonald's do one now, a similar sort of thing. I did hear that they were going to start the Tesco's one up again. So yeah, anything like that. I think is it's great for the CV, but also it's great to network as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. It's always an absolute key word, isn't it? I think for anyone starting out, you never know where that next opportunity might come from. So if you know more people, then those opportunities might be greater than you think. Um, let's talk about radio and all this sort of stuff, because you've been presenting radio shows since
Oh man, yeah,
2010. So how did you get into
yeah.
that?
So I don't know, to be honest. People always say this to me. How did you get into the radio? And I remember they started this little radio station called Cheshire FM, and I always used to listen to listen to the radio in the tractor and the milking parlour and various things. And I love music and I
Yeah.
love talking to people, so it kind of made sense, really. And there's this. It was in the Northwich Guardian that this new radio station, Cheshire FM, was starting up, and you could tune in and have a cheeky listen. So I did. I remember listening to it and thinking, this is okay, but I think I could have a go at this. And if ever you want a reason to just always go after what you want to go after,
Yeah.
I went to Cheshire FM, turned up, and I remember I pressed the buzzer on the door, and this receptionist voice came up, and I said, "Hi, it's Sam Walton here. I've got a meeting with your CEO." And she was like, "Yeah, come in." Door opened, went in, and there's this rather confused looking bloke looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I said, "Literally, I haven't got a meeting with you, but I really want to be on the radio. And what do I need to do to
Brilliant.
get there?" And it was a proper one of those moments. He was like, "Do you know something? I love that. Come back tomorrow and we'll have a meeting." And I
That's
did,
great.
and I started doing. It was Feel Good Friday night. Oh, it's so cheesy. Feel good, Feel Good Friday night, and then they did Feel Good Saturday night, and then just did that for ages. And that was a very sort of like just these sort of party tunes. And then I did everything over about sort of 5 or 6 years. Did the breakfast show, Wake Up with
Brilliant.
Walton. Um, like, oh, still, it's so cheesy now when you hear yourself back on it and what I used to say, and it was just so cringy. And
And
then
you were
so I was
doing
there
that.
for
You were doing that
13 years
alongside. Sorry, you're doing that alongside your
farming.
farming
I
sort of
was
stuff.
milking cows at the time, yeah. So literally would do late night radio until I think the show finished at 10, and then I'd have to drive home. And I was up for milking at 5 o'clock the next day.
Wow.
Um, and Yeah, I did it, and I absolutely loved it. It wasn't an ego thing. I didn't expect people to stop me in the street and let me sign my autograph. That never happened. But I remember when I was at Cheshire FM, and it's sadly no longer going. But I remember the Nolans came in, and then the Nolans the Nolans were going back on tour, and they came in to speak to one of the DJs, and they gave us tickets to their press night for their Nolan's comeback tour. So we went to watch it. It was at the Apollo in Manchester. Met loads of Hollyoaks cast, loads of sort of local celebby sort of people, and that was great. So that was Cheshire FM, and then
That is
I was
funny.
I was headhunted, and I felt awful about this, and I was contacted by the rival station, which was
Oh,
Silk FM. And
oh dear.
they were a commercial station, so they were, like, big, you know, they got an FM license, so they could their broadcast reach was a lot bigger, and, yeah, I went to it
Yeah.
for Silk FM, and it was all progress, and, you know, I'd spoke to Cheshire FM and said, "Listen, you know, I've been offered this opportunity." It was to do the weekend breakfast show, um, and yeah, it was great. So I moved to Silk FM, whose
Oh wow.
sister radio station was D Radio in Chester. So my show went out across both of those stations, which was great. And they were on DAB as well, so it was great. And yeah, I loved that. Absolutely loved it. And they're still going to this day. The best show I ever did was the weeknight radio show, and that was live every night. We had this thing called the farmers phone in, and you know
Okay.
people would get in touch. Farmers. We had this this competition called. It was when Little Mix had just brought out "Shout Out to My Ex," and I had this phone in called "Shout Out to My Ex," and basically people would just ring in and just rinse their ex on the radio. And we had to record it in the end because it was obviously there was quite a lot of expletives and things like that would
Yeah,
come
of
in,
course.
and they would just ring up and, you know, just shout out to my ex, which I was quite proud of. That was all my idea. And then, yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And I've stepped back a bit from it now because different time restraints or whatever. And we've obviously moved to the other end of the country, so I can't just go back to
Yeah.
Cheshire and do that. But
Oh, you haven't thought
yeah,
about
but
getting involved in some sort of radio in the southwest then?
yeah, there's a few stations down this end of the country. Problem is they all talk funny down here. They all think I sound like Peter Kay whenever I talk. So yeah, I might do. And you know, I'm enjoying having a bit of a break from it at the minute, but there's every chance that I could get back into it. And I've got a demo. I made a demo that I could send out. Adam does quite a lot of sort of BBC, Gloucester and Worcester and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, there's every chance we could try and get in there a little bit.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, you're I think you're the third farmer slash radio person to become on Meet the Farmers as a guest. I had Gareth Barlow. Um, he must have been. I mean, it must be. He was certainly in the first like 100 episodes or so. He was a sheep farmer up in Yorkshire, and he's now on Radio 4. So he went full on down the radio line. He's now sort of professional journalist down that line. Hugh Broom, of course, Farmers Weekly podcast.
But I
Um,
think what makes it really relevant is that, you know, the listenership was quite rural to the stations that I've been on, and there was always such a good response when you were talking about carving cows and TB testing and things like that. You know, it's like anything with media. The more real you are, the better it comes across. And you know, I've absolutely embarrassed my family and my friends, and there was, you know, I used to take stories onto the radio, but the more real that you are, the better it comes across. And that's something that even in the social media stuff that I'm doing now
yeah.
for work and whatever, anything scripted just can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable to watch or whatever. So I've always been real. I've always, you know, just been me.
Yeah. Well, it comes across. It's great. There's so many different avenues I want to go down, but we are short of time. We'll start to round this up now. What about sort of that classic future question? You've moved around quite a bit. You've had some amazing jobs in the past, and obviously had your radio stuff, and you lived in different places, and you've got a young family as well. Where do you see yourself in the next sort of 5, 10 years? What do you want to be doing then?
Here. is absolutely where I want to be. I've never felt as at home and as settled as I have here since we were at Stockley at my own family farm. Um, I absolutely love the Cotswolds with all my heart, and the people and the environment that it is, and the pubs. Um, yeah,
Good pubs.
it's great, and I am working under somebody who isn't just my boss, but he's also my mentor, and who I learned. And I'm not trying to get a pay rise by saying this, but um, is someone that I hugely, hugely respect and have done for a long time, and someone who has a knowledge of not just farming but also media and also, all everything Cotswold Farm Park. There is such a legacy here. It opened in 1971. It was the first ever rare breed accredited centre for rare breeds. So there's such a history here. And I love that, and I absolutely buzz off it, and I wanna be part of that, and I wanna keep flying the flag for rare breeds, for farm education, for farm attractions and everything, and this is the place to do it. So yeah, I have no plans at all to move on. Career wise, I'm surrounded by livestock every day, which is where I want to be. I enjoy my job. Yes, it's always good to aspire to go up the ladder or whatever, but right now I love what I do, and I hope that never changes.
Well, your passion and enthusiasm comes across so loudly. Honestly, it is infectious. So, yeah, I'm sure that that future is bright. I'm going to ask the final two questions that I ask everyone who comes on the show. Sam, the first is, what would your message to the public be? Any message?
My message to the public would be the age old issue is that we get behind the farmers. I know that you want to. We were always talking about buying British, and we're talking about how tough things have been, and that is just because we need you behind us. We need you to just support the industry. I think that you know go down to your local farm shop if you can. I know you're going to pay a little bit more, perhaps, but it's for top quality stuff. Get out onto the farm, speak to the farmers, meet the animals, and like I say, just get behind your farmers because they're struggling. They really are.
And your message to farmers?
My message is to farmers. Well, like I've said earlier in the interview, just keep banging that drum. I know things are hard. I know that it feels like the whole world is against us right now and that everything is just tough. But we're going to get through this. Our industry is very special in the fact that, we are all willing to put our arms around each other and, look after each other. And I think that just keep going, keep banging that drum, don't give up, and always talk to if it's the milkman's coming to collect your milk, if it's your AI man that's coming to serve your cows, if it's the farm vet, if it's somebody that's coming to buy milk from your vending machine, whatever, just keep talking. Don't sit there and let it fester up and then worry and that becomes even worse, and just keep talking to your family.
Hmm. I think that's a great message and a definite shout out to all those allied industries. Anyone who goes out onto farm and is seeing farmers on farm week in, week out, whether it's once a month, whether it's once a week, whether it's once a year, however regularly you're going onto farm. Yeah, think about those conversations and thank you for doing what you're doing because yeah, those connections are really important. Sam, the time has flown.
It has.
I've really enjoyed this. thank thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me as well. I'm a massive fan of what you're trying to do with the podcast and the social stuff as well. So yeah, really, really proud to be here.
Oh, thanks, Sam. That means a lot. We'll leave it there. That's it for today. Massive thank you to my guest, Sam Walton, for coming on the show. Thank you also for listening. If you don't already subscribe to the show, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whether you're listening, subscribe there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe there as well. Next time, we will be in North Wales. I'll be joined by Erin McNaught. Really interesting story she has. But for now, I'm Ben Eagle. This has been Meet the Farmers, and thank you very much for listening.